Hi, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us on our journey through the Bible, one day at a time. Our reading for today was in 2 Samuel chapter 10, 11, and 12. And as I thought about this and what I would share with you this evening, um, I didn't especially want to deal with chapter 11. I know it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. If you know anything about the Bible, you know about David's adulterous affair with Bathsheba and the consequences, lying about it for a year, covering it up, and then the things that they had to deal with, the death of the child, and what happened to David's kingdom as a result. It's a sad story. The problem is, David's story is not the only sad story. And after many years in the ministry, I've in a way grown weary with having to deal with and um, confront Christians, especially who have been caught in adulterous affairs, and then the aftermath of it, they suffer the consequences. And I thought so many times how much better it would be just to avoid that problem completely than having to deal with it after the fact. That's what I would like to do as we look at chapter 11 in David's fall into moral impurity and how we can avoid it. What can we learn from David? Well, number one of the things we can learn is just to be uh, aware that times of spiritual success are sometimes the times when we are the most vulnerable to the attack of the enemy. You may think that David was a young kid when he had an affair with Bathsheba. Not at all. Many think that he was about 50 years old when this happened. He was well into his prime. He'd had many years of success in battle and success as a king and success in writing Psalms, known as a man after God's own heart. After all of these years of success, it seems that he had grown complacent. Maybe pride had an effect on his life. It can do that sometimes, but be aware of the fact that, sometimes when you're successful, you're vulnerable. Be aware of it. Be looking for the attacks of the enemy during those times. Number two, we can learn the importance of embracing a godly marriage. David knew marriage. He had 20 wives at this point. One thing he did not know was the joy of having one true love. And I think he missed what God had in mind for marriage by going into these multiple relationships and multiplying wives. We're told in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. But then Paul goes on to explain that God has given us marriage as a way to righteously deal with the normal physical desires that people have. And Bathsheba herself, it seems like, had difficulties that were unresolved in her own marriage. She's described as very beautiful. In the passage, she was the daughter of one of David's mighty men, Eliam, and also married to another, Uriah. But when you see Uriah's response, when he came home from the battle and he delivered a report to David as he was asked to do, and David said, "Okay, you've completed your assignment. Thank you. You can go home and then head back to the battle." And he refused to go home and see his wife. Instead, he spent the night twice there with David's other servants and the door of the palace. I've heard people comment on this as what a godly man Uriah was, that he wouldn't go home to see his wife when he was home for a couple of days from the battle. I don't see anything godly about that at all. I think that he had a responsibility to be concerned about meeting his wife's needs and to seeing her at that time. And to me, that's evidence that there was maybe a problem in Bathsheba's marriage as well. Number three, guard your eyes. David saw something he should not have seen on that rooftop, and as he saw Bathsheba, and he should have instantly turned away and got off that rooftop as fast as he could. He would think that a man at his age would know better than that. Job said, "I've made a covenant with my eyes, and why should I look upon a maid?" I think that should be something every one of us needs to do. Make a covenant with your eyes that you're not going to see some of those things. you shouldn't see. And when it happens that you accidentally see something you shouldn't, you take steps to remove yourself from that whole situation, which leads to number 4. David's compromises in smaller areas led to his greater sin. He could have dealt with seeing Bathsheba on the rooftop if he had gotten off that rooftop immediately, as he should have done. It was not a sin necessarily to invite Bathsheba to the palace, and they could have even had a meal, and he could have expressed concern for Uriah and how the battle was going, and wished her well and sent her home. But each compromise led to a greater compromise, and so often that's the case with Christians. We allow small compromises to creep into our lives, and we think, okay, well, I didn't suffer any consequences from that, and the result is greater compromises and greater compromises, till finally we were in a situation like this, where we're wondering, how did things get this bad? Like David. Let's learn from his example, all right? And let's take steps to make our own marriage strong. And consider that today, will you, as we walk through the Bible together. Tomorrow's reading is just 2 chapters in 2 Samuel, chapter 13 and chapter 14. Now read those, and I'll look forward to being with you again real soon.